Hello. All right, it works. Um, okay. So, obviously, everybody here has heard about the cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, and I think it's best that going forward, we should just people should just assume you must have heard about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency because it is something that has already changed the world and will continue to affect many, many people going forward. And the reason why is because over the last 10 years, since the Bitcoin was released, the people have done more than $100 billion of commerce where you're not using, you don't really see or you can't touch or figure out at any day who is dealing with your transaction. And that's incredible because that means that this commerce can happen whether you're in any country, whether you use dinars or euros or dollars or Japanese yen. There's no difference. That's the thing about the crypto. There's no paperwork when you're dealing with this cryptocurrencies. You want some amount of money, you tell someone where to put it, and they put it. And that place where you put it, you also created that place to hold those money. You didn't have to call the banker. You didn't have to wait for business hours. So that's how it all started. That's why are we talking about cryptocurrencies? And then I will talk about why I started Safex. And today, coincidentally, is the 3rd year since I started the Safex, so that's cool. And I will explain why it makes a difference because cryptocurrencies are very much in the early stages. So that means that anybody who is listening now would be in a first mover position versus people 5 to 10 years from now. And if you were here 10 years ago when Bitcoin first started, it would be a nightmare because all the things that had to be developed, that have been developed so far, and the things that we must still create and learn and understand how to better use cryptocurrency for everybody. Most people hear about Bitcoin now because they hear about great amounts of wealth being made through the price rises, of course, right? Who here heard about the price rises? Great. Pretty much everybody in this room raised their hand. So that's a good thing. It's easy advertising. We push the prices up and everybody wants to talk about it and get interested in it. But it's not about that. What brought me to the cryptocurrency, in 2013, I was Googling online how to buy things online when you're in a different country. And I come from America, so it's a lot of things are easy to buy there. Everything is there basically. You don't have to look for it. It's someone has it and they could bring it to you within 24 hours within the giant country it is. And so I bought some Bitcoins and I wasn't interested in the rise of the price because I didn't even know that the price was very going up and going down. I just bought it because I wanted to use them online like you would get a credit card to buy something, with a credit card. So, and then after 6 weeks, the price went up triple and it caught my attention just like everybody here and everybody else in the world, right? So, but as a programmer, I can go deeper and understand these things and get involved. So I moved to San Francisco and I started to be on internet forums. I started to get involved in the community. And so I wind up hiring developers over a forum, internet forum, to build me some software that I would go and sell in San Francisco. And I didn't have a bank account for a business. I didn't have a company or anything, but I had these Bitcoins that I bought, and they were now worth a lot more, and I wanted to use them and do some trade. So that's what got me interested in the Bitcoin, is the fact that I was able to, when I bought the software, I paid $3,000. I sent the payment. They showed me the code, not the code, but what it does. And then I sent the payment to their Bitcoin address. And then they send me the source code. And in 15 minutes, they had the money. I can't take it back. And it was a Saturday evening when I sent the payment, and it cost 2 cents to send this payment, $3,000. And those guys were so happy because they're sure they got the money, and I was so happy because I did a deal, and it was a good deal. And then and that's what really sparked my attention for dealing with these cryptos, because here I just hired these guys, I had no papers involved, and I got everything that I needed, and now I'm running to the client with the software, and oh my God, it's great. So everyone was super happy. So that's what started it all. I realized that there's more involved here than simply something to just speculate on, to just buy it and hold it, but it's actually there to buy it and create business. What else can you do with it, right? You can buy goods and you could buy anything that exists that you already buy with the normal money. But for example, whenever I'm trying to buy something, it's very hard to find it, for example, right here in Serbia. And then when I do find it, there's like paper upon paper to acquire that thing. With a cryptocurrency, it's very simple to just push the money to where you need to take it and receive your product for it. I mean, how many times am I waiting sometimes to 2-3 weeks, fifth paper, always one more paper? So that's just to send your money. But when you have cryptocurrency, it's just that person who is accepting it tell you where to send it. It's like meeting for a coffee and just putting any amount of money to the person who you're trying to pay, you see? And that's what you can do with the products. So to this day, there's a service, for example, you can buy all the things Amazon is selling for Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies. So yes, there's kind of like a middleman, but we'll get into why, what more we can do to fix that and make it more seamless between the cryptocurrency and the actual things you want to buy. So I went over a lot of these things already, but let's go in depth. So when you're for example, those developers over there, when I hired them in Ukraine and I was in San Francisco, maybe those people really needed their payments now. Maybe they're short on the rent or they have some bills to pay. Maybe someone is sick in the hospital. So when I sent that payment, they had it available to them to now send it forward immediately. There was no delay between their receiving the payment and they can use the payment. When you are dealing with the banks and stuff, okay, you receive the payment and then a few days later you can use the payment and then a few weeks later you can actually spend the payment after all this process is gone through. And that's because there's so much manual processing, there's so much skepticism among the banking systems, whereas cryptocurrency is purely digital. And we'll get into why that's a huge advantage in a minute. But imagine you're selling products and you have a big demand for those products, and you're waiting for transaction settlement. If you're using cryptocurrency, you have immediate access to that funding, and you can go and restock inventory, and your customers will trust you for being a reliable provider for the products that they want, you see? And that makes a huge difference. This is competitive advantage. That's why in the beginning I said, the reason if you're listening now, you have this first mover advantage. You hear about these things from a source. Like there's a lot of information on the internet and stuff, and a lot of it is good. But a lot of it lacks the depth because these are things that are brand new. They are just made, like literally yesterday, and I'm not exaggerating that. So listen up, right? So you sold your stuff, you got the payment, you can go and repurchase, you can go and repay people and get the business going faster. You don't have to be that guy or that person who is just like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm still waiting for payment to clear. It's just not the way to make a business move really good. So yeah, so more sales, more money, more restock, more profit, more expansion. It just accelerates growth. Then you also have this factor. You have these platform costs, right? So like Amazon is charging almost up to 50%. Some people even losing money if they're using like their storage facilities and stuff like that. eBay is charging a fixed fee. Basically, everybody charge a pretty nice, hefty fee on top of payment processing. So that's just absurd. Any crypto transaction of any size will cost you not percents at all. It costs you cents, just cents. Like people can send $200 million payments for 2 pennies, and you can send a $3 payment or a $1 payment for 2 pennies. Now, so that makes more products accessible to more people. So the store doesn't want to really sell a gum for 25 cents because their fees will be already 30 cents to Visa, etc. And so it's not feasible. You must charge people because of payment processing, but that's absurd. There's a better solution. It's the crypto coins, you see? So now you can make the gum cost 10 cents and you can pay the transaction fee 2 cents. Wow, that's awesome, right? So like, yeah, that matters so much. Not to mention, you're marking up prices, you're stopping your growth because of these platform fees. And most of this has to do because the majority of this cryptocurrency blockchain stuff is all open source. It's literally free. It just, people build it and it's there. It's like a road. Yeah, obviously the government puts it, but if you remove the government, the road will still last for some time, so you could still drive on it. And it's the same with the open source community. So as long as people are maintaining all of this software that is keeping this alive, and it doesn't take a huge, massive army of people to maintain this kind of software. And the reason is because the responsibility of supporting the actual infrastructure is offset to the people. So that's why instead of one entity paying massively for that, you have many entities throughout the world who are contributing a tiny piece. Obviously, they are rewarded, and that's the mining. We'll talk more about it in a minute. Let's go deeper than that 2 cents gum thing. So there's a rule. It's 1995. Anybody heard of that rule, 1995? No one heard of that rule? So the point is, you want someone to buy your stuff, and you're on the internet, and your stuff costs $9 or $5. Okay, so everybody gonna learn something now. All right, so the rule is if you want someone to take their credit card, no one's gonna buy anything from you if it doesn't cost $19.95, pretty much. Because who's gonna take their effort for go and pay some $1, $2 with their credit card and punch all this info and all this crazy stuff in? No one want to do that. And then on the other side, even if you're paying 30% in the fees for a $2 purchase, and no one still want to buy it, because who's going to take out their credit card for that? It's annoying. So just make it $19. If it was $2, just convert it to $19 and sales will go through the roof. Believe me. Because people will feel like it's a meaningful purchase, and $20 and $2 is not a big difference. Just kidding. But really, if you want the people to buy things, there's that rule of 1995 to make a meaningful transaction that people will actually take out their credit card. But now remember, cryptocurrency is digital. There's no card. It's like this number, like 50 letters number, and that thing controls your money. And you could take that number and you could plug it into your phone. You could plug that number into your laptop. You can plug it in to another computer and erase it when you're done. Just make sure that computer is not infected with some virus, of course. But the point is that it reduces the friction. People don't need to take out their credit card. It could be as simple as a plugin on your browser. And when you're shopping, you just instantly transfer this money. And don't forget, the payment processing is like 2 pennies. So, and it's the customers paying that fee directly when they're sending that payment. So it's not, the merchant doesn't have to pay. So yeah, it's digital. Like the biggest things that are working right now, because they are the easiest, is buying games and buying digital items online with the cryptocurrencies. And why is that not perfect? I mean, why is that perfect? Because you have the digital content and you have the digital money, and they just work like that. It's the newest generations of people who are so accustomed to these digital methods of doing things, they're forgetting about the credit card. Why would I do that? I just click 2 buttons on the internet and I have a bank account right there. In fact, it's even better than a bank account because it's all on me. I don't have to trust some third party to scam me or move my money, or have to call the insurance company and stuff like that when the bank goes bust and stuff like this. So, wow. So there's too much advantage here in this crypto stuff that you just got to figure out how to make it work for you. So then, worldwide market. This is the biggest thing. I was trading software with people in Ukraine from San Francisco over the internet forum. So imagine we had to do it with the bank stuff. That would be a nightmare. Like, how would I transfer my money from the San Francisco to the Ukraine? What if I needed to do a bigger amount? And how much scrutiny that would come under? And I'm just trying to do a normal business here. So like, in the US, you're innocent until proven guilty kind of thing, right? So let me just do my life as an innocent person. And if you find that I did some fault somewhere, then you must use the legal process. But don't stop me from doing a normal business in advance. Do you see? So worldwide market, that's, I didn't have to deal with someone. I'm right here in Serbia. And how much I'm still influencing the entire earth, but it's only because cryptocurrency. If I had to do with a normal banking system, this would be logistically impossible. There's 300 people actively, daily, constantly engaged in this Safex, making this message put together and in order to test these softwares that we were releasing, and in order to figure out how to make this the best experience for as many people for their opportunities. And so that would be impossible to create such an organization where the only method of payment would be with the traditional banking, and how fast we got that together as well. So hello to everybody who's out there, not in this room, but you're listening to this video, so see you guys later. Yeah, so there's no payment blockades in the cryptocurrency. Obviously, there's that saying, money makes the world go round. So let's, you throw it out the window and it come in through the front door. But if you can't throw it out the window, nothing will come for you. You see? So, yeah. I talked about everything is generated on your device. So literally, the bank account is an application. And the application works only on your device. It doesn't need to be a website. It even shouldn't be a website. And you control that. You create it. So you click a button and it generates some random numbers and you create your bank account. And that's it. That's the crypto. So obviously there are some problems with the cryptocurrency. Let's not just dive in and bust our head open in the shallow water. So there's issues with volatility in a price. Like there's 1,000 of coins out there in a world. And they have very similar economic models, and that's the reason why they have this kind of, this might be a little in-depth, but I think it's worth mentioning because you may remember these things later when you investigate cryptocurrency more further. And on top of that, the platforms are not defined yet. What kind of applications can be used with these crypto coins? And that's the most important part. I'll talk more about these issues. For example, Bitcoin, when I bought this software with the Bitcoins, we didn't have any receipt, right? We just had our communications over the forum and this transaction. So we could always point to that transaction. But there's no real way for me to kind of prove that that transaction was really mine. So these folks could have said, oh, but he never paid me, so this is impossible, But I would need some kind of way to prove it. But Bitcoin is, it was built 10 years ago, and it is, the thing that introduced us to this phenomenon. However, improvements must be made in order for this cryptocurrency to work good for you. And so that's what I mean by undefined platforms. And like there are different applications using this cryptocurrency and the blockchain stuff, but let's face it, there's a difference between just a blockchain application and then a cryptocurrency economy, let's say. Because a application doesn't necessarily need coins, because every day you are using services that you don't need some coins. And these coins are arbitrarily priced. So like if you rent from Amazon for $20 a month, there's a cost to that and there's a price for that. Whereas in a coins market, people are not paying attention to how to price these coins. So we put a lot of focus on that because a lot of reasons, because it's very important if you will participate in a very significant way in this system to understand all of the mechanics of how prices are changing. So that's the reason why I put a lot of focus into understanding what is worth buying and what is not worth buying, and creating something that is worth using as a real economy. So, for example, who here knows about mining? Wow, that's a lot of people. Wow, all right, great. So that's good for me. Bitcoin mining, if you were the first, you were getting the most coins, right? Okay, but that's 10 years ago, and no one heard of Bitcoin 10 years ago. So who got the most coins? Like 10 people. Okay, so that's okay, good for them, right? However, this isn't the point. The point is that this was a way to convince the people very early to just do it and not think. Because if you had to think, then you would miss your chance. So you would just go and mine these coins and try it out. But now we know, and we've learned about cryptos and the blockchain stuff, so we don't really need to be in such a hurry. We know that an economy can be built with the crypto coins. We don't have to be most greedy people on the first moment when it comes to distributing the resources of the network. So that's why we've built this Safex, because it is a way to start an economy that has a very specific purpose, which is dealing in trade, in buying goods and buying services and things like this. But besides just this application, obviously Amazon let you buy goods and Upwork let you sell your services. However, and why don't we just use Bitcoin? But we don't want to, because in the long term, the Bitcoin is already kind of reached its, I'm not saying Bitcoin is at the top, and I'm not saying that it's at the bottom. But what I am saying is that Bitcoin's use case is already fulfilled. It's for introducing us to this new paradigm of this blockchain and the cryptocurrency stuff. So now, in Bitcoin, all the coins are produced very early. And with Safex, when we already are producing the coins, you can mine them now. However, the great thing about it is that the adoption of all technologies follows a similar pattern. It follows the bell curve. I'm sure all of you know what is the bell curve, and if you don't, ask your colleague. So that's how technology is adopted. Therefore, the distribution of the resources of that technology should also be following the similar wave. So with the Safex cryptocurrency, when we are printing them in the process of mining, the same way like a Bitcoin, instead of everybody in the beginning getting all of the resource of the network, it's distributed increasingly over time, because more people will learn about and adopt a good working product over time. So what it means is, even if you can't do anything about it now, and you came back in 2 or 3 years, you would still be rewarded for that. And we're willing to understand that if it means that you're not going to be immediately mining this coin, it wouldn't be totally your loss. But obviously there's the benefit of first mover. So, and there's plenty of people willing to take advantage of that. So then, obviously, Bitcoin doesn't let you do a full circle of e-commerce. All you can do is send and receive your payment. So that's a huge issue. There's lack of these platforms that allow you to do a complete circle with your transactions and be able to track them. And obviously, there are applications on top of the Bitcoin that allow you to do that. But then what's the point? Why not just do everything in this open source place rather than using intermediaries? There's no point in adding these layers over the actual core functionality of the e-commerce process. So it's basically cutting out every middleman from between you and your customers. So it's application-specific application. All right, we'll define that later. It's a great thing, because it's this is how open-ended the industry is. No one has got it right just yet, but I think we'll take the lead for exactly what we're doing. So then the next thing, remember, if you give all the coins to few people early on, so Bitcoin produced them like this, and the less coins is produced as time goes by. And the Safex produced them like this. So as more people are entering the market, more coins are distributed to those more people who are participating. So that means when you more evenly distribute the initial quantities of the resources, then only the clever people will obtain those resources through their trade, rather than just being there first. You see? So that being said, you have, when you, let's say 10 people have half of the money, if one of those people want to sell all of it, then they cause the price to just disappear. So with Safex, because we will have a more even distribution of the money supply, it's less possible at all that someone collect all the coins through the mining process and then cause very drastic price changes. So, because when you sell something for the coins, you don't want them to lose their value tomorrow. And if it does, only a little bit. And even better, if it gains the value after, right? Okay. So, what can you do? Since you already heard about this, you should just follow along or participate in the conversation, because this is things that we are shaping today. I would mention that, like, I'm living here in Belgrade now 2.5 years, and there's a small country up north, not going to get into it, but it really drew my attention that, you know, there's the new country coming to the Balkans. So anyway, the point is that, yeah, I develop here. We have a pretty small team, a decent-sized team, right? Like, and it's a lot of fun to develop these things because it is open source software, and we do just build it and release it. So it's kind of, and you have this huge community of people who are going to give you feedback within 20 seconds for everything you mentioned. So, and that's probably the most important thing that is needed right now, is people who are willing to take a risk and try these things and help to make it a really great thing. That's the thing that I admire about Bitcoin and about the way that I've been leading this Safex, is because how we got here was 3 years ago I launched what they now call a ICO, but at that time it was called a crowd sale. And at that time I maybe made like the 30th crowd sale on Earth. And my goal was to raise $30,000, and I raised $50,000. But the difference is, when you make a new company and you sell like 20% to get some funding or whatever, I sold 99% to the people 170 people at that time who put this money to start the project. So and today we're more than 10,000 people who are making this thing happen. So that's the amazing thing, that I'm not doing this just for me, and no one who is involved do it just for a company. It's more this public utility of it's a marketplace that anyone can connect to from the world, and no one can block it from doing its thing and from you doing what you wanted to do on there. And it's cheap in cost to you. It's not cheap in what it does for you. And yeah, you can go on our website, Safex.io, and we have a forum, discuss.safex.io, and of course, you can follow me on Twitter, and I am tweeting about everything in a coin world and stuff like that, trading or news and things that are very important for everything. Thanks for listening. See you, bye. All right.